Do not scroll. Do not skip, because the fact that you stopped here in this exact moment is not something that happened by accident. Heaven does not work by accident. You were guided to this message because there is something that needs to be spoken directly into your spirit right now, something that Archangel Michael has been preparing for this specific moment in your story. And what is about to be said is going to reach into the deepest part of what you have been carrying and replace the weight of it with something you have not felt in a long time. Stay right here. Because the people who tried to reach you, who tried to shake you, who tried to move you from the place God established you in, are beginning to understand something they did not understand when they started. You are untouchable, and now they know it. Something is shifting right now, not in the distance, not in some future season you are still waiting to arrive. Right now, in this moment, in the invisible realm where heaven makes decisions that earth has not yet seen, the atmosphere around your life is changing. The walls that were being built against you are falling. The plans that were constructed in rooms you were not invited into are collapsing under their own weight. The voices that were coordinating against your peace, your progress, your purpose are going quiet, not because they chose to stop, because they have encountered something they do not have an answer for. They have encountered the covering of God over a life that was chosen before they ever decided to oppose it. Do not move. Stay until the very end. Because what Archangel Michael is releasing over you in this message is going to settle something that has been unsettled for far too long. You know what it feels like to be targeted, not in the general sense of life being difficult, in the specific sense of feeling like there are people, sometimes one, sometimes several, who have made your diminishment a project, who watch your life with a specific and focused attention that is not about care or genuine interest, but about monitoring, about waiting for a stumble, about being positioned to interpret every difficulty as confirmation of the narrative they have already decided about you, about slowly, methodically, sometimes subtly, and sometimes not, working to undermine the thing that God is building in your life. Maybe they came at you directly, with words designed to wound, with actions calculated to destabilize, with challenges to your credibility or your character that arrived at the moments when you were least prepared to defend yourself. Maybe they came at you indirectly, through the people around you, through whisper campaigns and carefully placed doubts, through the kind of influence that works in shadows and is difficult to confront because it never fully shows its face. Maybe they came at you through circumstances that seemed natural on the surface, but carried a specific weight that felt engineered. Doors that closed in a pattern, opportunities that disappeared in a sequence, setbacks that arrived with a timing that felt like more than coincidence. Whatever the specific shape of it, you know the feeling of being in a season where the opposition was organized, where the resistance to your progress felt personal, where you asked heaven in the quiet moments why the path forward was this difficult, and whether the difficulty meant something about whether you were really supposed to be moving in the direction you were moving. Stay with me. Do not scroll. Archangel Michael says the answer to that question is being delivered right now, and it is not the answer the opposition expected. Here is what you need to understand about the people and the forces that were working against you. They made a calculation, at some point, whether consciously or through the kind of instinct that recognizes a threat without fully naming it. They looked at what God was building in your life, and they made a decision that it needed to be stopped. Not because you had done something to them that warranted opposition, but because what you carry, the specific anointing on your life, the assignment that heaven placed in you before you were born, the particular combination of gifts and character and purpose that makes you who you are, represents something that disrupts the arrangements they were comfortable with. Chosen people are always opposed, not randomly, specifically, because the enemy of purpose understands assignments better than most people do. And when a person has a genuine assignment, one that was written in heaven and not manufactured by ambition, the opposition to it is not casual. It is targeted. It is sustained. It is designed to arrive at the moments of greatest vulnerability. And it is intended to do one specific thing, to make the chosen person question whether they are actually chosen. That is the real target, not your resources, not your relationships, not your reputation, though the opposition often works through all of those. The real target is your belief in what God said about you. Because if that belief can be shaken, if you can be moved from the certainty of your assignment into the confusion of self-doubt, then the opposition has accomplished everything it needed to accomplish without ever having to directly defeat you. It simply needed you to defeat yourself. And the reason this matters right now, the reason Archangel Michael is speaking this over your life in this exact moment, is because that strategy failed. You are still here. You are still standing. You are still watching, still listening, still open to what heaven is saying, which means the core of what God placed in you was not reached by everything that was thrown at it. It bent, but it did not break. It was shaken, but it was not moved from its foundation. And the foundation is the part that matters. The foundation is what makes you untouchable. Do not skip. Do not scroll. Stay right here, because what comes next is the part that is going to shift something permanently. I want to tell you about what untouchable actually means, because the word carries implications that need to be clarified so that you receive the full weight of what heaven is speaking over you. Untouchable does not mean immune to difficulty. It does not mean that hard things will stop happening, or that opposition will immediately disappear, or that the path forward will suddenly become smooth in every direction. That is not what the covering of God looks like in a person's life. The covering does not remove the weather. It ensures that no matter what the weather does, it cannot reach the essential thing that heaven is protecting. What is untouchable in you is your assignment. What cannot be reached by anything that comes against you is the specific purpose that God wrote into your life before you were born. People can affect your circumstances. They cannot affect your calling. People can speak against your reputation. They cannot change what God has declared about your identity. People can close doors that were in front of you. They cannot close the doors that God has designated for your name. People can work to diminish your influence. They cannot reach the anointing that produces the influence, because the anointing does not come from them and therefore cannot be removed by them. This is what they are beginning to understand. This is why the atmosphere around the opposition to your life is changing. They have been working against something that is not vulnerable to their methods. They have been using the tools that work on ordinary things against something that is not ordinary. And tools that are built for natural resistance are useless against supernatural covering. They are beginning to feel the futility of it, the exhaustion of sustained opposition that does not produce the results it was designed to produce. The disorientation of watching someone they tried to stop continue to stand. And in some of them, something is shifting from opposition to a reluctant and confused recognition that what they were working against was protected in a way they did not account for. Now they know. And knowing it is a specific kind of experience that you do not have to engineer or orchestrate or wait to see play out in dramatic fashion. It is quieter than that, more internal, more personal. It is the moment when someone who has been working against you runs out of strategies and sits with the question of why none of them worked. That question is the beginning of their reckoning. To receive what Archangel Michael is releasing over your life in this moment, go to the comments right now and type, "I am covered." Let that declaration be the agreement between your spirit and what heaven is confirming over you today. Do it now, and then come back, because we are not finished. What is coming next is going to open something in you that has been waiting to be opened. Let me tell you about the 3 things that made you untouchable, because your protection is not generic, it is specific. It was built from specific materials over specific seasons, and those materials are worth naming so that you understand what you are actually carrying. The first thing that made you untouchable is what you chose in your lowest season. There was a moment or several moments when you could have responded to what was being done to you in a way that would have changed who you are. When the opposition was heaviest and the support was thinnest, and the temptation to become something less than who God made you to be was most present. The temptation to become bitter, the temptation to become manipulative in return, the temptation to use the tools of the people working against you, because at least those tools seem to produce visible results. The temptation to abandon the values that the opposition was specifically trying to target, because carrying those values was costing you something real. You did not take that path, not perfectly, not without struggle. But in the essential choices, in the moments that defined the direction, you chose to remain who God made you to be, even when who God made you to be was under attack. And that choice is not a small thing. That choice is the foundation of the covering that now makes you untouchable. Heaven protects what remains aligned with heaven even under pressure, and your alignment tested by real opposition, and maintained through genuine cost, is what makes the covering permanent. The second thing that made you untouchable is the prayers you prayed when you were not sure they were reaching anywhere. The ones you prayed in empty rooms with no audience. The ones that felt like they dissolved before they arrived. The ones you prayed in the middle of the night when the weight of what you were facing was at its heaviest and faith felt like the most expensive thing in the world. Those prayers did not dissolve. They did not bounce off the ceiling. They arrived, every single one of them. And they built something in the spiritual realm around your life that the opposition could not see but was encountering every time it tried to advance against you. An invisible wall, a supernatural perimeter, a protection assembled from every moment of faithfulness that you exercised when faithfulness was not the easy choice. The third thing that made you untouchable is the consistency of your character when no one was watching. The integrity you maintained in the small moments that no one would have known about if you had chosen differently. The honesty you practiced when dishonesty would have been invisible. The kindness you extended when withholding it would have been completely understandable. The forgiveness you chose when bitterness was available and arguably justified. Character built in private is the most solid kind because it is not dependent on anyone seeing it or rewarding it. It simply is. And heaven rewards what simply is far more generously than what performs for an audience. These three things, the choices you made under pressure, the prayers you prayed without certainty, the character you maintained without witness, assembled themselves into a covering over your life that the opposition could never account for because they could not see it. And now, having thrown everything they had against something they could not touch, they are standing on the other side of their efforts, looking at a person still standing and beginning to understand what they were actually up against. Do not scroll. Stay with me. Archangel Michael is still speaking. The part that is going to land deepest in your spirit is still coming. I want to speak now to the exhaustion, because being untouchable does not mean the season was easy. It means the essential thing was protected. But the surrounding things, the energy it took to keep standing, the emotional cost of sustained opposition, the specific fatigue that comes from having to be strong over a long period of time without certainty about when the season would shift, that was real. And carrying it was hard. And the hardness of it deserves to be acknowledged without immediately pivoting to the lesson or the purpose or the silver lining. You were tired, in the specific way that comes from fighting for something that matters, in the specific way that comes from holding your ground when letting go would have felt like relief in the short term, in the specific way that comes from staying true to your assignment when the assignment was costing you more than you had budgeted for. That tiredness is real and heaven sees it, and the response of heaven to your exhaustion is not to hand you a lesson about endurance. The response is rest. Rest that is coming. A season that is beginning right now, where the sustained effort required to simply remain standing is going to give way to something different, where the ground beneath you is going to feel solid in a new way, where the opposition that required so much of your energy to navigate is going to find itself facing a wall it cannot climb and is going to redirect itself somewhere else. The peace that is coming is not the peace of circumstances finally aligning perfectly. It is the deeper peace of knowing that you are covered, that what God established in your life was not destroyed by what came against it, that the assignment is intact, that the foundation held, and that the season requiring you to prove that it held is giving way to a season where you simply get to build on it. Do not move. The final revelation is coming. Stay until the very end, because what Archangel Michael is about to release is the specific word that is going to settle something in you that has been unsettled far too long. I want to talk about what comes next, because the season of being untouchable is not a season of simply surviving opposition. It is a season of advancing into everything the opposition was trying to prevent. The covering that protected your assignment while the opposition was active does not disappear when the opposition quiets. It remains. And in the remaining, it becomes the foundation for the next chapter of what God is building in your life. The next chapter is characterized by visibility, not the visibility of performance or self-promotion, the visibility of a life that is doing what it was designed to do, and doing it so clearly and so consistently that it becomes impossible to overlook. The gifts that the opposition tried to suppress are going to emerge into spaces they were always meant to occupy. The relationships that the opposition tried to corrupt are going to be replaced by connections that are aligned with where you are going. The opportunities that the opposition worked to close are going to be reopened or replaced by better ones in a timeline that makes it clear that the closing was never the final word. The people who are going to witness this next chapter include some of the very ones who were part of the opposition. And their witnessing of it is going to be a specific and significant experience. Not because you need their validation, but because a life that rises after sustained opposition, a life that advances into purpose after everything thrown against it, is a testimony. And testimonies are not for the one giving them. They are for the ones watching who need to know that what God starts cannot be stopped by what people oppose. Watch for the doors that open in places you were told were closed to you. They are opening. Watch for the recognition that arrives from directions you were not expecting. It is coming. Watch for the resources that align in ways that make the next step possible, even when the next step looked impossible from where you were standing. They are aligning. Share this message with someone who needs to know that being covered is real, someone who is in the middle of a season of opposition and needs to hear that what is working against them has encountered something it cannot defeat. Someone who is tired from the standing and needs to know that the standing is producing something that they cannot yet see, but that is real in the realm where real things are first assembled before they arrive in the visible. Subscribe to this channel so that you never miss another word that heaven releases through this space. Because what is coming in the next season of your life requires the kind of guidance that heaven provides, and you want to be positioned to receive it, my beloved child. You stayed until the end, and in staying, you received the confirmation that your spirit needed. The confirmation that the season you have been in was not evidence of abandonment. It was evidence of preparation, that the opposition you faced was not evidence that you were on the wrong path. It was evidence that you were on the right one. That the exhaustion of the standing was not the end of the story. It was the price of the covering that is now fully established over your life. They tried to shake you. They did not understand that you were rooted in something they could not reach. They tried to stop you. They did not understand that what they were trying to stop was not your ambition or your effort, but your assignment. And assignments given by heaven are not subject to cancellation by earth. They are shaking now, not because of anything you did to them, but because what they tried to move did not move. And standing before something that will not move when you expected it to is one of the most disorienting experiences a person can have. It forces a reckoning with the limits of your own power. It forces a recognition that something is operating in the situation that is beyond what you can control or account for. They know it now. They may not have the language for it. They may not be ready to admit it, but they know it. The person they tried to shake is still standing. The life they tried to diminish is advancing. The assignment they tried to prevent is moving forward with an authority that their opposition was never equipped to match. You are untouchable, not because you are beyond difficulty, but because the essential thing in you, the thing God placed there before you were born, the calling that has survived every season, including this one, is covered by a hand that nothing reaches through. Now go build, go advance. Go walk into the next chapter with the full knowledge of what you are carrying and what is carrying you. The covering is real. The assignment is intact. The season of proving it is giving way to the season of living it. And the people who tried to stop you are going to watch every moment of it.